Hello and welcome to ABC News. I'm Miriam Korowa. Victorian health officials have confirmed Australia's first case of coronavirus. Let's now go to our reporter Emilia Terzon in Melbourne. Emilia, just what's known at this stage about the person who has been confirmed as having contracted coronavirus?
Well, Australia's first confirmed case of coronavirus is with a Chinese national man in his 50s. He flew into Melbourne last Sunday to visit his family here over the Chinese Lunar New Year. The man flew on a Southern Airlines flight and he came via Wuhan, which has been the epicentre of this new and deadly virus. We know that the man arrived on the Sunday and then in the next day or so his symptoms started to progress and he was getting pneumonia-like symptoms. His family was watching over him and he was largely staying at home sick. He was taken to the doctors mid this week, but the doctor did not suspect him of having the coronavirus despite him having travelled through Wuhan. But his family continued to press on the case and the man was taken to a Melbourne hospital here yesterday where he was put immediately into isolation with suspected coronavirus. Victorian health authorities have confirmed that now this morning he has been diagnosed with coronavirus, which is, as we know, Australia's now first known case of the disease. We do know that there are also 5 people in New South Wales being tested for coronavirus. There's 2 confirmed cases in France and, of course, 41 people now dead in China with this disease and more than 1,000 people being tested there. But despite this news and this growing increased risk of the disease, the Victorian Health Minister says people should not panic. Here is what she had to say a few moments ago.
It's important to stress that there is no cause for alarm to the community. The patient is isolated and is undergoing treatment, and we do not have any further suspected cases at this stage. The gentleman has been in the city of Wuhan in China for the past 2 weeks prior to the onset of his illness, and he arrived in Melbourne on an early morning flight on the 19th of January, flight number China Southern Airlines flight number CZ321. This was a flight from Guangzhou to Melbourne.
So, Emilia, with this confirmed case, is it known how this man may have contracted the virus in the first place?
In a word, no, it's not known how this man contracted the virus. We do know that this virus has preliminarily been spreading from an illegal wildlife market in Wuhan, but this man, this 50-year-old man in Melbourne, did not go to that market. So Victorian health authorities are saying that he is a secondary case, meaning that he's contracted it off someone else who has the disease. We know that this disease is now spreading to 2nd, 3rd, 4th generation cases. So this does indeed prove that this coronavirus is infectious, but authorities are still not exactly knowing how it's contracted.
And Emilia, what's the assessment of the risk to the public, particularly when we consider that there were other passengers obviously on the same flight as this man coming into Australia from Guangzhou?
Well, Victorian health authorities this morning were very quick to tell the public not to panic. They say that this man, luckily it's a best case scenario as they described it, because this man was feeling sick pretty much when he arrived in Melbourne and he was at home with his family being cared for there pretty much until he was put into isolation in hospital. They say he didn't go to any restaurants, he didn't take any public transport, so it's a best case scenario in terms of the spread of the disease. Of course, his family is being monitored for symptoms of coronavirus and the doctor that he visited is also being monitored. But at this stage, health authorities are saying that the people who should be worried are those who were travelling on that Southern Chinese airline flight with him last Sunday. They say that now this case has been confirmed, they will be contacting people on that plane today, urging them to look out for symptoms.
Now, Emilia, what's the expectation for more cases being presented in Australia?
Well, in a nutshell, the Victorian health authorities are saying that, yes, they are expecting more cases, if not in Victoria, they're expecting more cases in Australia. And the health minister did say that they are assuming that there might be more cases of the coronavirus off the flight that this man flew into Australia on.
Now, of course, we are learning that this particular case involves someone who got sick earlier this week, did go to the doctors a few days ago. Is there an explanation as to why we're only just hearing about this now?
That's correct. So we know that the man had suspected coronavirus yesterday when he went to a Melbourne hospital. The health authorities here say he was put into isolation as soon as he went to the Melbourne hospital, obviously on the assumption that he potentially did have the disease. But we are only hearing about it today, which is potentially 24 hours later. And the people who are on the plane, the health authorities confirmed, have not been contacted yet, and they will be so now that case has been confirmed. The health authorities' explanation for this is that they did not want people to panic. They assumed that because the man had been at home all of this week, that the containment possibility was quite low. So that's their explanation for why they haven't told people earlier.
And what should people and health authorities be looking out for in terms of symptoms for those potential cases?
Well, health authorities are telling people that if you've got the common cold and you're a bit worried, please don't rush to your doctors. They're urging people not to panic and to suspect that every little sniffle is a case of the coronavirus. They say that obviously people are very worried. This is an unknown disease. There's no known cure. It's very fresh and people are dying in China. But they're saying that people should not panic, and it's only if you've had potentially direct contact with someone you know has the virus, if you travelled on that plane from Wuhan last Sunday or any other planes from China, or if you've indeed been to China, that's when they're telling people to really look out for the symptoms. As we've mentioned, it's flu-like symptoms, it's heavy fevers, pneumonia, but people are being urged not to panic yet in Australia.
Our reporter Emilia Terzon with the latest there in Melbourne.